Welcome to Quick Summary. Today we're discussing The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, published in 2012. Introduction. How often have you decided to work out more, eat healthier, or quit smoking, only to go back to your old habits after a while? Maybe you stick with it for a few days or weeks, but then the temptation to return to your usual routine becomes too strong and you give in. This is a common struggle. We want to make changes, but sticking with them is really hard. This shows how powerful habits are in our lives. Habits shape our daily actions and decisions, often without us even noticing. They influence our behavior, affect our health, and impact our overall well-being. To make lasting changes, it's important to understand how habits work and why they're so hard to break. In The Power of Habit, you'll learn how to break bad habits and build good ones that can improve your life. The book explains how our brains create and hold on to habits, which is why change can be difficult. You'll discover the science behind habit formation, how habits start, the routines we follow, and the rewards we crave. By understanding these patterns, you'll be better equipped to overcome bad habits and create new positive ones. With this knowledge, you can start making meaningful changes in your life, replacing old habits with healthier and more helpful ones. This will help you achieve your goals, improve your well-being, and lead a more positive and successful life. Lesson 1. The Habit Loop. Consider your morning routine for a moment. How do you start your day? You might get out of bed, head to the kitchen, and start making coffee without really thinking about it. Your brain has turned this process into a habit, so you don't need to consciously plan each step. You automatically know to fill the coffee maker with water, add coffee grounds, and turn it on. Even with modern coffee makers that have timers, the process remains automatic for you. Whether you're making coffee, preparing a smoothie, or getting your gym gear ready, you don't pause to deliberate on each step. But have you ever wondered how you manage these tasks without much thought, especially when you're still waking up? The reason lies in a part of your brain called the basal ganglia, which is located deep within the brain, close to the spinal cord. This area helps us form and manage habits. For instance, researchers from MIT studied mice navigating a T-shaped maze to find chocolate. Initially, the mice's brains were highly active as they explored different paths. Over time, as they learned the shortcut, their brain activity decreased because they began to perform the task automatically. This automatic behavior is known as chunking, and it evolved to help our brains save energy and perform routine tasks more efficiently. Every habit consists of a loop made up of 3 parts: a cue, a routine, and a reward. The habit loop starts with a cue, which triggers your brain to start the habit. For example, the sound of your alarm clock in the morning is the cue. Next is the routine, which includes the actions you automatically perform, like making coffee. Lastly, there's the reward, which in this case is enjoying your coffee and feeling more awake. Once you experience the reward, your brain reinforces the connection between the cue and the routine. This reinforcement makes it easier to repeat the habit in the future. According to Duhigg, habits are choices we make consciously at first, but then continue without thinking. If you reflect on your daily life, you might notice that many of your decisions are habitual. In fact, studies suggest that up to 40% of our daily choices are driven by habits. Understanding this habit loop can help you take control of your behaviors and make positive changes in your life. Lesson 2. The Golden Rule of Habit Change. We all develop routines throughout our daily lives. For example, you might start each day by getting coffee from a favorite shop, or you might visit the gym after work. These routines become habits, and while some are beneficial, it's easy to fall into harmful habits as well. Imagine you usually stop by a coffee shop in the morning, but one day you switch to a nearby fast food place instead. If you start ordering sugary drinks and greasy foods, you might find yourself gaining weight. Over time, it can become really tough to resist the urge to make that stop, even if you know it's unhealthy. You might end up feeling grumpy if you try to drive past without stopping. Breaking a bad habit is challenging because you crave the reward that comes with it. For example, if you're used to drinking a sugary sweet tea with your breakfast, the reward you seek is that sweet taste and the energy rush it gives you. To change this habit, you need to modify the habit loop. Charles Duhigg illustrates this with the story of Ray, who owns a restaurant called Sea on the Range. Ray used to work long hours and developed a habit of drinking whiskey to unwind after a tough day. Initially, a double whiskey helped him relax, but over time he began drinking earlier in the day and even had beer before his shift ended. This habit started to negatively affect his patience and business. Ray's irritation with his employees led to poor service and high staff turnover, which harmed his restaurant's success. To change this habit, Ray needed to understand each part of his habit loop. His habit started with a cue, which was the end of a stressful day. The craving was for the alcohol's burn. The routine was drinking whiskey, and the reward was the relaxation he felt afterward. Duhigg's golden rule for changing a habit is to keep the cue and reward the same, but change the routine. By altering the routine, you can also adjust the craving that drives the habit. Ray could replace his whiskey routine with something healthier. For example, he could use his $25,000 pool to create a new routine. Instead of craving whiskey, he could come to look forward to swimming laps, enjoying the refreshing water after work. This new activity would replace his old habit and provide a different reward. Replacing a routine is a great start, but Duhigg suggests it's also important to cultivate a new craving for your new routine. By focusing on what you enjoy about the new habit, like the relaxation and physical benefits of swimming, you can make it easier to stick with the change. This approach is similar to programs like Alcoholics Anonymous, where participants replace their old habits with new supportive routines and connect with others facing similar challenges. Lesson 3. Adopting Keystone Habits. Change can be intimidating, and it often meets resistance from those who are wary of new directions. In large companies, implementing new policies can be especially challenging, and new leaders often face skepticism. For instance, when Paul O'Neill became the CEO of Alcoa, an aluminum company in 1987, he made a surprising decision. Instead of focusing on boosting profits right away, he would prioritize workplace safety. This choice was met with doubt from investors and stakeholders, some of whom even thought O'Neill was misguided and would harm the company. Despite the pushback, O'Neill believed that changing key habits could significantly improve the company. He introduced the idea of Keystone Habits, which are essential habits that can trigger a chain reaction of positive changes. Instead of overhauling every aspect of the company, O'Neill focused on a single key area: safety. This focus encouraged managers and employees to rethink and improve safety practices, which eventually led to broader improvements in the company's operations. O'Neill's focus on safety turned out to be very successful. By the time he retired in 2000, Alcoa's annual net income had increased fivefold compared to when he took over. This success demonstrated the power of focusing on one or two crucial habits to drive overall improvement. The concept of keystone habits is not only useful for companies, but also for individuals. For example, Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps used visualization and relaxation techniques as his keystone habits. By consistently applying these methods, he improved his performance and achieved success. Similarly, when trying to lose weight or adopt healthy habits, Starting with one simple keystone habit, like keeping a food journal, can lead to other positive changes. These small victories build momentum and can result in significant lasting improvements in your life. Lesson 4. The significance of willpower. Changing bad habits for good ones sounds straightforward, but it can be quite challenging. Whether you're trying to quit smoking, eat healthier, or exercise more, the role of willpower is crucial. Willpower is the ability to resist short-term temptations in order to achieve long-term goals. According to Duhigg, it's one of the most important habits for making lasting changes. A famous study from the 1960s at Stanford University tested young children's willpower. Each child was given a choice: eat one marshmallow now, or wait 15 minutes and get 2 marshmallows. Only about 30% of the kids were able to wait for the second marshmallow. Years later, researchers found that those who had waited as children tended to do better in school, had more friends, and were less likely to fall into bad habits. Further research supports this idea. For example, a 2005 study found that 8th graders with strong willpower had better grades and were more likely to get into top schools. Willpower isn't something you're born with. It's a skill that can be developed with practice. Researchers from Case Western Reserve University discovered that people who resisted eating a cookie found it harder to focus on other tasks afterward, showing that willpower can be depleted. However, like a muscle, willpower can be strengthened through regular exercise and training. An example of willpower in action is how Starbucks trains its employees to handle stressful situations. When faced with angry customers, baristas can become overwhelmed and lose their composure. To help them maintain their cool, Starbucks developed the LAT method: listen to the customer, acknowledge their issue, take action to resolve it, thank the customer, and explain what happened. This structured approach helps employees stay calm and focused. You can apply a similar strategy to your own life. For example, patients recovering from hip replacement surgery who wrote down their recovery plans and prepared for challenges were more successful in their recovery. Although they didn't use the LAT method, they benefited from having a clear plan and mentally preparing for difficulties. By building willpower and using methods like LATTE to handle stress, you can better manage your habits and achieve your long-term goals. Lesson 5. The significance of belief. Changing habits can be tough, especially when you're trying to do it alone. For example, going to the gym after work can feel daunting if you're by yourself, but having a workout buddy makes it much easier. Similarly, when new policies are introduced at work, they're more successful if everyone supports them. Opposition or lack of support can make adopting new habits much harder. Duhigg points out that belief is a crucial factor in forming new habits. For instance, in Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, participants not only replace the habit of drinking with attending meetings, but also embrace a belief in a higher power. This belief helps them feel they have support beyond themselves, which can make a big difference in their recovery. Belief is even more powerful when it's shared in a group. People are more likely to stick with new habits when they are part of a supportive community. A historical example is Rosa Parks. In 1955, she refused to give up her seat on a bus, sparking a major civil rights movement. Rosa wasn't the first to defy segregation laws, but her strong community ties and active involvement in local organizations made her stand significant. Her network of friends and community members supported her, which helped amplify the impact of her actions. When Rosa Parks refused to move, her social connections played a key role in spreading the message and encouraging others to join the boycott. Her involvement made it harder for people to ignore the cause. Over time, with the support of leaders like Martin Luther King Jr., who promoted non-violent protest and forgiveness, the movement gained momentum. People started organizing peaceful protests and church meetings, driven by a collective belief that change was possible. In summary, while willpower is important, belief in the possibility of change and having the support of others who share that belief is essential for forming and sticking with new habits. Being part of a supportive group can reinforce your commitment and make change more achievable. Lesson 6. Habits become your responsibility. Once we realize we need to change our habits, it's up to us to make those changes happen. To illustrate this point, Duhigg presents 2 legal cases where people's habits played a central role in their actions. The first case involves Brian Thomas, who, in 2008, killed his wife during a sleep terror episode. Sleep terrors can cause people to act out their fears or impulses while they're asleep, often with no memory of it. Thomas thought he was defending his wife from an intruder, but he was actually strangling her in his sleep. His defense argued that he was acting on an automatic, instinctual response, given that he wasn't fully conscious. In court, his sleep terror condition was acknowledged, and he was acquitted of the charges, with many showing sympathy for his situation. The second case is about Angie Bachman, who was sued by Harrah's Casino for $500,000 due to unpaid gambling debts. Bachman had lost her house and inheritance because of her gambling addiction. Despite her bankruptcy, Harrah's kept sending her offers for free casino stays, which she couldn't resist. Bachman argued that her gambling habits, fueled by these offers, led her into trouble. However, unlike Thomas, she was held responsible for her actions. The court found that despite recognizing her problem, Bachman had the power to avoid gambling and didn't take the necessary steps to do so. So, what happened in each case? Thomas was not held legally accountable for his actions due to the nature of his sleep terror condition. In contrast, Bachman was found guilty because she had the opportunity and responsibility to change her behavior, but didn't. The key takeaway is that while habits can influence our actions, it is ultimately our responsibility to address and manage them. Making the effort to change habits and avoid triggers is crucial, as seen in these 2 cases. Final summary. We develop many habits over time, both positive and negative. These habits follow a simple 3-step process. A cue triggers the habit, you perform a routine, and then you get a reward. Changing a habit can be challenging because it often means breaking the loop of craving the reward. To effectively change a habit, focus on altering the routine part of the loop while keeping the same cue and reward. This approach is more manageable than trying to change everything at once. An important part of this process is developing keystone habits. Keystone habits are central habits that can lead to positive changes in other areas of your life. For example, practicing willpower can help you resist bad habits and adopt new, beneficial ones. By regularly practicing self-control and focusing on key habits, you can build a successful and positive lifestyle. Thanks for tuning in to this quick summary. Did you find this audiobook summary helpful? If you enjoyed this audiobook summary, please like, subscribe, and share with others to help us spread the knowledge.